everyone, this is Ashmita from ISS Classes, and as you can see on your screen, this is the General English paper from the ISS IES 2022, and we are solving the essays one by one, and you all can see the word limit. It's 800 words, and I won't be giving you exact 800 words essay right now as a solution. Rather, I would be discussing about number 1C in today's class, which deals with the significance of renewable energy sources in the context of global climate change. So, before starting off with the points that you can include in your answer, I would like to discuss about certain things that you can write or how you can write your essay in the examination. Like you are first going to introduce the topic, which I have been telling in all my uh, answer videos, solution videos, that you need to introduce the important words in the topic. First of all, talk about renewable energy sources a bit. Then talk about the global climatic change that we are experiencing. Not much, but at least in a little paragraph, you can do it. Yeah. Now moving over to what points you can include in your answer. You see, I have included land, energy, and water are among our most precious resources. So these can be included within the renewable energy resources, but the manner and extent to which they are exploited contributes to climate change. Meanwhile, the systems that provide these resources are themselves highly vulnerable to changes in climate. Efficient resource management is therefore of great importance. So you need to talk about why is this thing happening, a little bit of details regarding the destruction or exploitation of the resources, and then you can talk about how efficiently or efficient use or judicious use of resource can actually help us, like both for mitigation as well as for adaptation purposes. Now, the lack of integration in resource assessments and policy making leads to inconsistent strategies and inefficient use of resources. A holistic view of climate, land use, energy, and water strategies that can help to remedy some of these shortcomings. So a proper way to make the judicious use of climate, land use, energy resources, and other water resources should be used properly. These points you can just include. Now, you can talk about the importance of energy. That is, if I go back to the question, it talks about the renewable energy resources that can be put to the best possible use. So, energy is at the heart of the climate challenge and key to the solution also. A large chunk of the greenhouse gases that blanket the earth and trap the sun's heat are generated through energy production by burning the fossil fuels to generate electricity and heat. Fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas are by far the largest contributor to global climate change. So, fossil fuels like coal, like oil, like gas are all contributing to the global climatic changes, accounting for over 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions and nearly 90% of all the carbon dioxide emissions. So these are actually contributing to the global greenhouse gas emissions and also nearly about 90% of all the carbon dioxide emissions. Now, the science is clear: to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, emissions need to be reduced by almost half by 2030 and reach the net zero by 2050. Now, to achieve this, we need to end our reliance on like dependence. Reliance over here means on fossil fuels and invest in alternative sources. So you are talking about not relying on fossil fuels, rather relying on certain or rather finding out some alternative sources of energy that are clean, that are accessible, that are affordable, that are sustainable, that are reliable. All right. Renewable energy sources which are available in abundance. Abundance means sufficient. All around us, provided by the sun, the wind, the water, the waste, and heat from the earth, are replenished by nature and emit little to no greenhouse gases or pollutants into the air. Fossil fuels still account for more than 80% of the global energy production, but cleaner sources of energy are gaining ground. So fossil fuels, though it accounts to around 80% of the total global energy production, but new and cleaner energy resources are taking the ground. So you have to talk about that. About 29% of electricity currently comes from renewable resources. Okay, so that's quite good. You can talk about the recent developments in the advancements or the usage of the renewable sources of energy. So why are renewable sources so like uh, why are we focusing so much on renewable energy sources? Because you can talk about the advantages one by one. Here I have given you in points, but of course you cannot write in points, you have to write in paragraphs. So you can talk about the advantages, why we are so much focusing on renewable energy sources. It's because it's all around us. About 80% of the global population lives in countries that are net importers of fossil fuels. That's about 6 billion people who are dependent on fossil fuels from other countries, which makes them vulnerable to geopolitical shocks and crises. In contrast, renewable energy sources are available in all countries and their potential is yet to be fully harnessed. So you know there are some renewable resources whose potential or how much they can be useful that hasn't been established. Okay, we haven't used it to the fullest extent possible. We haven't harnessed it. We haven't used it fully. The International Renewable Energy Agency, that's the IRENA, estimates that 90% of the world's electricity can and should come from the renewable energy by 2050. You can talk about the advancements that are taking place in order to make the best use of the renewable energy sources that are there. Renewables offer a way out of import dependency, allowing the countries to diversify their economies. Yes, of course, you can talk about this very important point, which says that you should obviously think about your own country's renewable resources rather than importing from other countries, right? You need to think about the diverse features or diverse things that are there in your own economy within your national boundary rather than from importing things from outside. You should obviously focus on harnessing or using all the resources that are there in your economy to the fullest extent possible. Allocation of resources and protect them from the unpredictable price swings of the fossil fuels while driving inclusive economic growth, new jobs, and poverty alleviation. Obviously, if we move towards the renewable energy sources, it will generate more employment. First of all, definitely it will help to contribute towards um, like uh, good environment. Of course, that's the first and the foremost thing that we are focusing on in this essay. But secondly, it will definitely generate new jobs. It will eradicate poverty, not entirely, I would say, but to a limit it will generate employment, and hence it will definitely alleviate poverty. Okay. Secondly, renewable energy is actually cheaper. Now, renewable energy actually is the cheapest power option in most parts of the world today. Prices for renewable energy technologies are dropping rapidly. The cost of electricity from solar power fell by 85% between 2010 to 2020. Give certain statistical data also, because these will leave a very good impression on the person who is checking your paper. Costs of onshore and offshore wind energy fell by 56% and 48% respectively. Falling prices make the renewable energy more attractive all around, including to low and middle income countries where most of the additional demand for new electricity will come from. With falling costs, there is a real opportunity for much of the new power supply over the coming years to be provided by low carbon sources. So, cheap electricity from renewable sources could provide 65% of the world's total electricity supply by 2030. So, you can talk about, as I told you, you have to talk about certain future prospects of how this will be helpful. It could decarbonize 90% of the power sector by 2050, massively cutting the carbon emissions and helping to mitigate the climate change. Although solar and wind power costs are expected to remain higher in 2022 and 2023 than pre-pandemic levels due to the general elevated commodity and freight prices. Yes, you can talk about the price going down after 2023 for the renewable resources. Hence, that can be the best time to invest in renewable energy sources. Their competitiveness actually improves due to much sharper increase in gas and coal prices, as said by the International Energy Agency. Another reason that due to which these renewable sources of energy can be used is renewable energy is healthier. Now, according to the World Health Organization, that's the WHO, about 99% of people in the world, they breathe air that exceeds the air quality limits and like threatens their health. And more than 13 million deaths around the world each year are happening due to avoidable environmental causes. Sorry, it will be unavoidable. Unavoidable environmental causes, including air pollution. Uh, the unhealthy levels of fine particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide originate mainly from the burning of the fossil fuels. In 2018, air pollution from the fossil fuels caused $2.9 trillion in health and economic costs, about $8 billion a day. So you can talk about how in not using the renewable resources, how it is contributing to more and more pollution day by day. Like too much of use of fossil fuels, how it is actually harming the atmosphere. Switching to clean sources of energy, such as wind and solar, thus helps address not only the climate change, but also air pollution and health. Changes should take into account and be in line with three key pillars for the reduction of climate change and closing the sustainability gap, namely increasing the share of renewables in the energy matrix. Secondly, reducing the global energy demand through energy efficiency. Thirdly, increasing the electrification pathway for all end use sectors. Now, all over the world, renewable sources are being explored for energy. Yes, because it's high time that we shift over to certain renewable sources of energy. Today, we currently see them as alternative options. However, the future goal is to shift completely to clean energy sources in order to realize that there are many advantages of renewable energy. Now, current progress and projections already show that by 2050, 50% of the world's energy will come from renewable energy. So, of course, we have got this study because that is by 2050, 50% of the world's energy will definitely come from the renewable sources. And that study we have done because slowly and steadily we are progressing towards using renewable sources of energy. Now, renewable energy sources are important because they are, first of all, clean. They avoid burning, polluting the dirty fossil fuels. This is energy derived from natural resources which cannot be depleted over time and can be replenished within a short period. Some of the widely used renewable energy sources include solar power, wind energy, hydropower, biomass, geothermal, and waste conversion. You can give these examples. Very good examples are mentioned over here. To reduce the progress of climatic change, we should all work towards switching from non-renewable sources to renewable power sources. So you can talk about switching. This is because the harmful processes and emissions that come with the former have little to no presence with the latter. Now, solar energy is derived from the sun. Now, you can talk about the different sources of renewable energy and from where do we get it, how can we use it, okay? Solar energy is produced using processes that require no gas emissions. As long as the sun is burning, we can never use up its resources, of course. Wind power. Now, power is driven by the temperature of the Earth's surface. Although land space is required, there is less disruption to natural habitats from wind turbines, which help balance the advantages and the disadvantages of the wind energy. Hydropower relies on the water cycle and the force of flowing water for energy conversion. Energy companies use hydropower to generate electricity. Now, geothermal energy. So you have to talk about solar energy, then you have to talk about wind energy. You can talk about geothermal energy as well as biomass and of course the conversion of biomass and generating bioenergy. Geothermal is generated using the heat within the Earth's crust. People use this source to heat buildings, bath water, and to generate electricity. Then we are coming across biomass and bioenergy, which are produced from the organic plant and animal materials. We convert the biomass to liquid biofuels or biogas to use. Okay, more explanation are to be given because it's 800 words after all. Now, how renewable energy actually reduces the climatic change? It definitely offers a cleaner atmosphere. Now, the burning of fossil fuels is responsible for the increased greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, which we have already mentioned in one of our previous pages. I was just telling. These gases contribute largely to what we know as global warming. Now, as energy production shifts to renewable sources, we expect that there will be a reduction in such gas emissions. And fewer emissions mean less pollution in our atmosphere. It also contributes to better air quality. Now, refineries expose plants, animals, people, and organisms living within the close proximity to poor air quality. As a result, they receive a concentration of harmful gases which could affect their health and development. Air pollution affects the urban dwellers significantly too. Now, the daily commutes with thousands of cars on the same roads at the same time can be threatening. This is because most vehicles are burning non renewable fuels, and these fuels release the gases that pollute the air that we inhale. Now, many non renewable sources also require the felling of trees. So, yeah, non renewable resources also require deforestation, like cutting down of trees. For example, if coal is found in an area, miners will cut down all the trees within proximity to access the resources underground, which is really, really so pathetic. Unfortunately, with the removal of each tree, we reduce the absorption of carbon dioxide that they provide. Of course, trees also help to provide oxygen, which humans and animals need to live. Okay, so we are actually like depleting the level of oxygen with our own hands. With renewable energy, we no longer have to cut trees down to access the fossil resources. We can plant new trees in deforested areas. As a result, air quality in any area with more trees improves. Now, renewable resource or usage of renewable resources also helps in improved public health. Now, many communities where solid fuels such as coal or crude oil are found usually become at a risk of poor public health. This is because the harvesting and the burning processes pose occupational hazards or water body contamination and air pollution. Now, the production of non renewable energy does not pose the same risks. Of course, here you can just talk about both of them, like both the renewable sources you can talk about, and then you can compare it with the non renewable sources, why people are moving towards the renewable sources much. Okay, so each point you are taking up, you need to discuss with example, and you also need to discuss both the sides. Okay. Some of these sources do in fact produce some amount of waste. However, having better controls in place limit the impacts. For example, the amount of CO2 released while burning a tree for biomass is around the same amount which that tree captured in its lifetime. So just imagine. This can make biomass carbon neutral, that is zero impact. Okay. Of course, the switch to renewable energy is just one contributing element towards a solution for climate change, but it's a big one. Of course, that is why we're going slowly, like progressing really slowly. Furthermore, the adverse impacts of climate change are not linear. They affect plants, animals, humans, and other organisms alike. To make a change, we can start by redirecting our energy needs to more sustainable sources. Yeah, you can give conclusion, of course, and you can end it like that. Of course, give a neutral point at last. Okay, do not end on your own opinion at last or against the topic that is given. Give a neutral opinion. And yes, this is how you can write your essay and, of course, include your own points. That's it for today's class. We're going to continue with a series of essay solutions in our other videos. That's it for today's class. Let me tell you that in our classes, we teach for all kinds of competitive examinations and all kinds of entrance examinations. So if you are by chance preparing for any kind of entrance exams, you can just join our classes through the phone number as well as through the website link that is given at the beginning of the video as well as the end of the video as well as in the description box below. Okay, so you can just go over there and have a look of have a look at all the classes or at your particular subject preparation videos. You can just have a glimpse and yes, you can enroll. That's it for today's class. We're going to meet once again in our next classes. Oh.